morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Robin Schulze. I'm the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences here at the University at Buffalo. And I really want to welcome you to UB and to the lovely Center for the Arts this morning. First, before we go any further, congratulations. The fact that you are here with us today means that you've worked incredibly hard and that your hard work is paid off. You've been accepted at the University at Buffalo, and we are a New York flagship university. That name flagship might not mean much to most, but it means a lot to us because it means that we set the pace for the rest of SUNY. We are doing work at a level high enough that the state has recognized us as a university that's really ahead of the pack. So UB really is a first-class, world-class research institution. We consistently gain recognition for both being exceptional and affordable. UB is ranked the number one public institution in New York State. And out of more than 1,600 public colleges and universities across the US, UB ranks 38 nationally. We're a member of the prestigious Association of American Universities, and that's an elite group of 65 universities, both public and private, that produce really extraordinary levels of very important federally funded research. So the impact of our research and scholarly work really is felt around the world. So honest to God, pat yourselves on the back. You've been accepted into one of the best public institutions in the world. You've done everything right. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to your families who supported you along the way. So bravo to you. You're here with us today because you indicated interest in one of our many departments of the UB College of Arts and Sciences. So the college offers more academic options than any other unit on our campus. Whether you want to study art or chemistry or media study or psychology or math, we have 30 different departments here to choose from. You're going to have access to all of the resources of a major research institution, including cutting-edge facilities and the opportunity to engage in research alongside faculty at the forefront of their fields. That is super important for everyone in here to know. Most of our undergraduates really do end up doing research with professors. They end up in labs. They end up on trips. They end up doing ice sheet work in Greenland and Iceland. They travel the world with world-renowned professors, and that's something that you're going to have access to. Our really caring advisors and attentive success coaches. We have engaged instructional support personnel. We have amazing faculty and staff, and all of them are going to work together to ensure that your individual needs are recognized and respected. Because honestly, your success is our success. A few of our college ambassadors are here today to tell you all about the interesting things that they are doing, both inside and outside the classroom. And a few short years ago, they sat where you're sitting now. So remember that all these things that they're telling you are absolutely possible. And as you listen to them, think about what motivates and excites you. So what do you want to make or do? What problem do you want to solve? Do you want to tackle climate change or digital misinformation or food insecurity or addiction? What drives you? We have a whole college full of distinguished faculty in the arts, humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences and mathematics who want to share their expertise with you and help you achieve your goals. You can do exciting, groundbreaking, impactful things just like they're doing, and I absolutely guarantee it. The ambassadors will tell you how to take advantage of the opportunities that the college offers. So we absolutely encourage all of our undergraduate students to get involved in experiential learning activities such as research, internships, study abroad opportunities, service learning. We're going to help you explore your options there and make decisions about what experiential opportunities will help you find your passion and build your career. This is, again, extremely important to know. When employers come to our campus now, they do not ask students, what did you study? They ask them, what did you do? That is a very, very, very different question. So you really should think about going to a university where all of these options are really sewn into what you're doing. So we help you find everything outside the classroom that's going to help you build everything that you're doing inside the classroom. You're going to go out and try something out, and if you like it, well, great. If you don't like it, come back to school and find something else. There are a range of opportunities. Every single department in the college has multiple experiential learning opportunities built into it. And this is my number one bullet point when I go out and fundraise. The last thing in the world I want is for a student to have a wonderful opportunity, like say, to go to the CERN Super Collider. Or, I think one of you here, maybe, did you go to CERN? No, sorry. Oh, anyway, we've had kids at CERN. We've had kids down in Washington, D.C. working with high-level politicos. But the last thing I want to do is for a student to tell me, I can't afford to do that. I have this wonderful opportunity to go someplace, but I can't pay for it. Well, I have built an enormous fund of money inside the College of Arts and Sciences to support people in experiential learning. So if you come to us and you say, I have an opportunity to go work in D.C. for the summer, but I can't do it, I have to work at Burger King, we're going to say to you, no, you don't. Here's some money, go live in D.C., go follow your dream, go chase your career. That's incredibly important to me because right now there is an absolute, in this country, an opportunity gap. There are certain students who can afford to do these kinds of opportunities and certain students who can't. And that makes a huge difference for your future. So come to a place where we're going to help you do that, and we will help you do that all the time, at every point of your undergraduate career here. At UB, pretty much all undergraduate students can pursue research or service learning or experiential learning beginning in their very first year. And we really do have this system of financial support ready to help you get it done. So honestly, dream big. Start thinking about all of these opportunities now. These activities will have an absolute significant impact on your career and your future. And they're not going to ask you, again, when you graduate, what did you study? They're going to ask you more about what you did. Finally, I want to encourage everybody here, get involved. We have more than 400 student clubs here. We have organizations all over the place on our campus, and we have a community to serve every interest. We have Division I athletics, we have concerts, we have world-renowned speakers, we have lots and lots of true blue energy to tap into, and parents and family who are with us today. Our research shows that this kind of connection is absolutely key to student success. When you are texting your students during the first week of school, ask them what clubs they're going to visit. Ask them what groups they are planning to join. And I urge all of you to check out the full listing of our student organizations at UB's website. Or better yet, go to the club fair later this afternoon and hear some of our students talk about the cool things that are going on. So whether you want to do Habitat for Humanity and build structures for folks down in Buffalo, or play esports with a team until 2 a.m., go check out Level Up, or write for the campus newspaper, hang out at the Spectrum, world-renowned paper, if you're out there, if you want to be a news hound, or if you want to go play Ultimate Frisbee. Again, not my thing, but go for it. You belong here, and you will find great people to share your UB journey with. So when you arrive on our campus in a few months for Welcome Weekend, this theater will be absolutely jam-packed. It will be filled with all of your classmates, some of whom will become your lifelong friends. It's going to be filled with dedicated faculty and staff who are eager to meet you and help you with all your time here at UB and help you get settled here. And I really can't wait to see you here again. So I'm going to turn things over to Ann Mecca, who's our Assistant Director for Undergraduate Admissions and Recruitment, and she's going to introduce you to our lovely college ambassadors, and they're going to answer questions for you and tell you more about what it's like to be a student here, which I know is why everybody's really here, not to listen to me. So thank you for coming, and we really appreciate you being here. Take care.
Good morning, everyone. Like Dean Schulze said, my name is Ann Mecca, and I'm Assistant Director for Admissions and Recruitment here at the college. While our students get settled, I will let you know, so on the handout that you received is a QR code, and is also right behind me. That is how we are collecting questions for this panel this morning. So feel free to scan it. It'll take you to a quick form, and you can start sending us some questions. I have a laptop up here so I can see all the questions that you all have, and we're excited to have the students answer them for you. Let's see, is everybody ready? So to get started, I'm going to have our fantastic college ambassadors here introduce themselves with your name, class year, and your major, please.
Hello, my name is Russell. I'm fourth year in the UB Teach program studying history and education.
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm a senior, and I study communication and French. Hey, my name's Bubba. I'm a junior, and I'm in the Department of Environment and Sustainability, studying environmental geosciences.
Hi everyone, my name is Megan. I'm a senior, so graduating this spring, and I'm in the Department of Chemistry.
And hi, my name is Paul. I'm currently a senior, and I'm a biology and physics double major.
Thanks, everybody. And look, we already got a bunch of questions coming in, so thank you, everyone. Feel free to keep submitting. So a question I've seen that come through a lot is how do I make sure I don't get lost in the size of the school? So can anybody talk about that?
Okay, so I am happy to talk about that because when I was choosing a school for undergrad, I was actually, for the most part, leaning towards smaller schools because I was worried about that exact thing. I thought, UB was definitely the biggest school that I looked at, and I did think that there would be a chance that I would kind of get lost in the hustle and bustle of it, but I've found really the opposite. I have a super tight-knit community, and I think that's one of the benefits of the College of Arts and Science is we have so many different departments, and you'll realize that when you start taking classes, and this might not happen freshman year, but especially as you get into higher level classes, a lot of times you're taking them with the same group of students. And those are your peers, those are the people that you spend a lot of time in class with, but also studying outside of class. Those might be the people that you get involved in research with. And I also want to mention that what the dean talked about with our clubs and such is we have so many clubs, and a lot of them are not that large. So you can make groups of students that are like-minded, that are interested in the same thing as you, and I don't think that you'll find you're overwhelmed here. At least most people that I've talked to haven't.
Yeah, I can add on to that, especially with the clubs. Dean Schulze mentioned that there's a ton of clubs at UB, and even if there aren't, or there isn't a club that you think you might want to start or join, you can start your own club. My sophomore year, my buddies and I wanted to start a golf club, and UB had one a few years ago, but it dissolved, and we got 10 of our friends and started our own club, and it has over 80 members now, so it's a really simple process, and the Student Association does a really nice job of accommodating anybody's idea for a club.
Perfect, thanks everybody. So this kind of ties into that a little bit, clubs, but can you talk about your favorite experience outside the classroom, whether that's something academic or not? I'm curious to hear this too.
So I could kind of speak about outside the classroom a little bit. So my third year, or technically second year, I got involved with the Amherst Central School District as a substitute teacher, and it really helped put what I was doing or learning about inside the classroom in real life experience, because I found myself being able to implement some of the teaching strategies that I was reading about or completing lesson plans for, and have that authentic experience prior to heading into my own classroom. So that's something that has really been beneficial to me for my time outside of the classroom doors.
I guess I can think of two quick examples. So as far as fun things, so I'm the president of French Club this year. We started baguette fencing last year. That's a lot of fun. We go down to the Bear Point by the columns. It's a lot of fun. And then as far as really something that still makes me smile. More than a year later, I was a research assistant, and so part of my work was reading and categorizing thousands of racist tweets and stuff to then analyze what was out there on the internet. And yeah, I actually got to go to the International Communication Association conference in Paris, learn from it was an insane experience. Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the gentleman who invented the internet, was there. So to go from just this crazy process of hey, do you want to help me out with some of my research to, oh yeah, the College of Arts and Sciences is sending you to Paris. Very fun experience.
I would touch on my research as well. My one professor, my freshman year, and this was during COVID when we were all remote, just Zoom classes and everything. He started going over his research the one day, and I thought it looked pretty cool. And I emailed him after class, and I said, hey, is there any way I could get involved next semester? And so I joined his lab, and we were doing paleoclimatology research. So it was just looking at sediment and ice cores and kind of seeing what the climate was like thousands or millions of years ago. And through that, I kind of learned what I liked and didn't like about it. And it was just Dr. Jason Briner is one of the best professors, I think, at UB. If anybody's into geology or anything, but he really kind of encouraged me to follow whatever path I liked, and he just made undergraduate research a really fun experience.
So I will also talk about undergraduate research, but in a bit of a different context, because I think my favorite part of my undergraduate research has been the people. I really love making new molecules. That's like what I'm passionate about. But what you might not realize is because we are an R1 institution and we have so much research going on, that also means we have a lot of graduate students here. So you're not only going to be surrounded by undergrads, but especially if you get involved in undergrad research, you're going to become close friends with a lot of graduate students. So, for example, in my group, we have between 12 and 15 people, and most of those are graduate students that have become my really close friends. You know, we go out to dinner, we go do recreational things on the weekends, we get to travel to conferences together. So that's also a really valuable experience because, you know, those are people who can mentor you, but they're a little bit closer to the same spot, you know, to where you are right now, and have a lot of great advice to give you.
So yeah, and I can add on a little bit about research, but for me, I think I was able to do research both at UB and outside of UB. So like if you come to UB, you'll have opportunities to both explore lots of like R1 research that's happening here, but also research at other institutions. So there was one summer I went to do research at the University of Michigan and actually did experiments at Accelerator at Stanford. So through UB, you're able to both explore like research at a high level here and also get other opportunities throughout the country.
Thank you. So kind of tying into that, and something I've seen coming through a lot is how easy is it to get involved in research or in other opportunities? Because it sounds really great, but it can be, you know, really intimidating to someone who's arriving at UB for the first time.
Sure.
So when I first got to UB, I was undecided. And so I remember my freshman seminar was taught by Dr. Melanie Green. She now is the chair of the communication department. And I was like so excited. It was all about like disinformation, something that I'm still interested in. And she invited me to sit in on some of the research meetings with her grad and PhD students. Like for me, like as a young freshman, that was like a crazy experience just to hear them throwing ideas back and forth, like in, you know, just like in the basement of one of the lecture halls. But yeah, then to just kind of see how approachable it was, and then to get into it myself, it was a test that was broken on a Saturday morning, and I had to call the number on the syllabus, like a story you'd never really expect to happen. But yeah, I talked to her, there's the toddler crying in the background, but she's like, and then the next lecture came out, she's like, yeah, I'd like to thank the student that told me that the test was broken on a Saturday morning. So like, never expected that would happen. So just, yeah, being ready and just like being ready to ask questions, especially if you're interested in what they're researching.
So, like a lot of you, I also, coming to UB, did not even realize that research was a thing. I actually came as a biomedical sciences major, so I was in the Jacobs School of Medicine to start. But I started research in the Department of Chemistry and then changed my major my freshman year to chemistry. But it was really an easy process for me to get started in research. I took the honors Gen Chem sequence with Dr. Cook, and he's currently my advisor. And I went to his office hours one day and I said, can we talk about like what you're doing when you're not teaching, lecture? And he pulled up some slides and told me all about what he was doing, and I understood none of it, but I smiled and nodded. And then he basically said, I have a grad student that's, working on this project, and you can go into lab right now and start, getting your hands dirty and trying stuff out. So that's basically what I did. For a while I followed a grad student around, and slowly that developed into, my own project and has resulted in, multiple publications, and I now have a lot more freedom in the lab. But getting involved in research was pretty easy, and I think that's a common experience here at UB because we have so many groups doing so much interesting research. And then I also want to mention that we have a lot of resources to help you get involved, especially when it may seem a little bit intimidating, because I know a lot of my peers feel that way. And one thing that I've done is I started a chemistry club, again, because we didn't have one, and most of our meetings are only like 10 or 15 people. But we have an expo every year where we have between 10 and 15 of our faculty give like 5-minute pitches of what they're doing. and they share that with all the undergraduates who are interested in research, and then afterwards you can like mingle with the faculty members, talk with them, and get involved in their labs like right then and there. And I think a lot of our student body that is involved in research, like a lot of us up here, do try to facilitate like those interactions for younger students because we realize it can be intimidating. So whether it's like just emailing the professor, going to office hours, or taking advantage of these kind of events that we put on, there are a lot of different ways to get involved.
Yeah, I can just add something real quick. So UB also has something called the Experiential Learning Network. So this is a website that has a bunch of professors have listed opportunities for research or even other opportunities outside of research are listed on this. So that's definitely something I would check out if you're looking to start research. But also like talking to people is a good way too, as Megan mentioned. But there's both sides where you have a formal way and more informal way.
I will say to the previous comment before Paul's, but I switched my major like 3 times in 2 weeks when I started off at UB. So I wasn't really like focused on research from the start of it. But once I got into my program, it was actually through my academic advisor where I found out about one of my first the research projects I did. I wrote a thesis on behalf of my honors program for my department, but I learned about it through other people, through advisors, and there's always going to be like emails coming around about opportunities to do research or opportunities for funding. And one thing I would say is like to jump on that because there's money and that'll fund you for research. I'm attending a conference in a couple days and I don't have to pay for it, so I'm kind of happy about that. So just be on the lookout for them emails.
Great. Well, we've talked a little bit about majors, and actually a question I've been getting a lot is it easy to double major or add a minor or switch your major? Can you all talk about that whole process?
Yeah, I can talk about it because I have a double major and I also have a minor. So like when you're going to do a double major, a lot of times for me, when I talk to my advisor, they wanted you to sketch it out kind of early just because the coursework can be a lot. But if it's something you're interested in and you're thinking about doing, I definitely talk to your advisor and they'll give you some advice about how to do that. But actually adding the major or adding the minor, it's quite simple. So there's just like a form and then you can fill it out and you'll be added straight to it. So it's not too hard to actually start it, but once you get into it, you definitely want to put some thought into the type of courses you want to take and what you want to get out of your degree. So.
And in terms of switching majors, which I'm sure you can talk about as well, but I switched majors not only like within the College of Arts and Science, but I actually swapped, I was in the Jacobs School and now I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, and it was also very easy, within a week of wanting to change majors, I was able to get that done. So it's a pretty easy process.
Okay, since I kind of have to comment on the switching majors, I went from legal studies to the business school to UB Teach, but like was stated, it wasn't too difficult to actually switch my majors. It was hard for me to commit to one, but once I was able to find the one I wanted to stay with, I've been with UB Teach now, heading into my 5th year, which is my student teaching, but there was, it's pretty easy to switch in and out, but in regards to double majoring, which I am doing for my combined degree program now with UB Teach for History and Education, to be honest, it's a lot of work, but I find it rewarding, and if you find ways to make meaning from the content in which you'll be exploring in these classes, it's going to be something that it'll be rewarding in the end.
I can also speak on switching majors. I switched mine 2 times my freshman year, from environmental engineering to environmental studies to then environmental geosciences. My advice would be to, if you have any state aid or anything, specifically there's STEM scholarships and stuff, make sure if you are switching majors, if you need that money and you intend to be in a STEM degree, you switch to a STEM major. I made the mistake of switching to a non-STEM major and then had to switch back to a STEM major to get a scholarship back. So I would just make sure you do that so you don't pay more than you have to.
So as you can tell, it's pretty common to change your major.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. That's what I was going to say. So don't feel like you're coming in today and you are absolutely married to whatever degree you've decided to choose. I mean, if you do that, that's awesome and good for you. But also, if you do change your major, that's totally fine. I did see a question come through asking if you could double major within other schools at UB, and absolutely. Just off the top of my head, I know we have a couple of theater and dance majors who are also business majors, and that's pretty common to see kind of between the schools. I want to switch gears a little bit. We're getting a lot of more student life oriented questions. I know these are our favorites to answer up here. So the question that we were talking about even before the panel, can you all tell me your favorite place to eat on campus?
Let's see. Yeah, I can go first. Yeah, I think you guys are lucky because they actually just added some more food since we were freshmen. So the One World Cafe is really good. They have multiple different options, and it's themed around different options from around the world. So that's what they try and do there. And I also personally enjoy the UB Commons, which isn't on the meal plan, but there's if you ever get sick of your meal plan, you want to go to a restaurant without having to drive somewhere, there are some nice locally owned restaurants in the UB Commons that are quite good as well.
Yeah, so when you're I know my freshman year, I didn't eat at the Commons as much. I ate in the dining halls, which personally I loved because I lived in Gov's freshman year. And I loved having the dining hall in the basement. You can be in your pajamas. You don't have to get dressed to go get food. It's great. But since then, I eat at the Commons a lot because it's a little bit cheaper. It tends to be cheaper. The portion sizes are big, so you can get 2 meals out of a lunch. And I think the food's really good at the Commons.
Yeah, in the Commons, there's a Chinese place. It's called Young Chow's. So I'm from Buffalo. It's probably my favorite Chinese food in the area. Being from Buffalo, too, I think I'm biased, but I think Buffalo has some of the best food in the country. And so I would recommend going to a lot of places downtown in the city. There's a lot of good options. In the north towns, Niagara Falls, there's so many good options for food here. Got to try chicken wings. I'd recommend Bar Bill. That's my favorite, but that's a far drive, but that's my favorite.
Yeah, if I'm lazy on campus, and I'm running through SU, some sushi is definitely always a good one. Grab some mochi and then maybe an aloe drink. Japanese cheesecake is the best ever. The Commons is great, especially just with all the options there from South Asian to bubble tea to Japanese to Subway. It's a good time. And then the Kosher Deli just opened up again this semester, so they have really quality ingredients if you're on that side of campus. Would recommend.
I mean, the place for me that I would definitely say, shocker, it's in the Commons, but it's a pizza place, La Rosa's. I kind of go there a lot now, but I definitely recommend it.
So you can see we're passionate about our food here. And actually, Bubba, you touched on something that we got in another question, which is, what is it like being in Buffalo? Somebody actually specifically asked about how you adjusted to the weather. So if you have any non-Buffalonians and you have any tips, buy a warm jacket would be what I would say. But anything?
So in high school, I actually lived in Mississippi for 3 years. So I've dealt with heat. Which we don't have as much of here. But in terms of it being cold, so if you haven't been able to tell already, almost all of our buildings are connected by either kind of underground tunnels or bridges. So in the winter, personally, sometimes I have to walk all the way across campus with my samples to get from the Department of Chemistry to engineering buildings, and you can stay inside the whole time. So I think the only time you might have to go outside in the winter is if you're getting from residence halls to the main part of North Campus, but still there are buses and you're not outside that much. So in terms of the weather, it's definitely doable. You're gonna want a coat, but you can stay inside for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely get a coat, a heavy one. The wind is probably, I think on windy days you'll feel it a lot more. I'd recommend a car scraper for ice during the winter. You don't want to forget that. Using a credit card is just not fun. So I'd definitely recommend that.
Yeah, snow squeegee. I'm a big fan of these. It's instead of the brush, it's a piece of foam, and it's just one clean pass. Especially with the wind, you just want to avoid being out in the cold as much as possible. But I'm from Albany. It's really not that much worse out here. yeah, maybe I missed the mountains to break it up a little bit, but it's not too bad.
Thank you. We've also gotten some questions about living on campus versus commuting. Can any of you talk about that?
Yeah, so I've lived on campus for most of my time here. I just recently moved off campus, but it's not really because there's a lot of student housing around the place I live right now is right across the street from UB, so it's still within walking distance. But I think the Ellicott complex, which I think I'm the one that lived there, so that's the big one where there's students of all years there. So that's a nice place to live. So there's a bus that will take you to classes because you can't really stay inside there. So they have a bus that's running from Ellicott to Student Union all the time. So they also have many community rooms in Ellicott that are really nice to hang out with your friends, and they don't get too busy all the time because there's a lot of them. And it's a nice place to try and get to know people at Ellicott. It's much bigger than Governor's, so that might be better because I lived at Governor's freshman year too. But Ellicott's definitely an enjoyable place to live, and the dorms they're not as nice as Govs in some areas, but in other aspects you have bigger rooms there, so you can have more roommates and such if that's something you're interested in.
So my freshman year, I lived in Govs, and I absolutely loved it. It's definitely smaller than Ellicott, and I think the dining hall has fewer bells and whistles at Govs, but I had no problems with it, and I really loved the community that I made in my hallway. So I actually ended up when I moved off campus sophomore year, I lived maybe where you live now, it's called the Villas. They're right across the street, basically from North Campus, so still walkable. It's a 60-second drive. And I lived there with friends that I made my freshman year. And now I actually live in an area called Kenmore, so it's 10 minutes from campus, but I have the whole upstairs of a house. So I commute now, just because that's what's best for me. But I have had really no bad experiences with either living on campus, living in the housing that's sort of campus associated, or living off campus and commuting.
So I've commuted all 4 years, or 3 going on 4. It's definitely an adjustment. I would say the first year it can be a little daunting at first, especially trying to make friends and everything. I would say if you're planning on commuting, the thing you got to make sure is you put yourself out there and join clubs, do research, just trying to meet people, because you don't get the same experience being in a dorm room surrounded by a million people that you have every opportunity to meet. So I made friends, and I've continued commuting. A few of them have lived on campus, a few have lived off campus on South Campus and the houses down there. And once you kind of make those friends, and you have some that live on campus, some that don't, you can kind of text your buddy and say, hey, can I stay at your house tonight? And it's really easy everyone's pretty relaxed, and it's fun. Honestly, it's really cheap. And like I said, once you make some friends, it's really a good time, I think.
Great, thank you. So kind of also talking about being on campus, we've gotten some questions about navigating campus. We've talked about the campus obviously is pretty big. So how do you get to your classes on time? How do you know where to go? How do you actually find the indoor tunnels that connect everything? What was that experience like for you?
So I'm pretty sure I'm still unaware of some of the tunnels. Sometimes I can't find them, if we're being honest. But if that's something you're worried about, just completely let that go. So once you get your schedule for the semester, the first Monday and Tuesday, you're gonna have to find the classes, the classrooms, and you might end up being late, but the first week is syllabus week, so usually you're not learning much, and a lot of people will show up late because they can't find the classroom if it's one that's a little bit more tucked away. So don't be concerned about that at all, and then you're just gonna be going to the same place every day, so you'll figure out where they are. And then in terms of navigating campus, going to other places, just give yourself some extra time, but really, since everything's connected, it's kind of linear working this way, and sometimes I just look up the map and then figure out what building I'm in. Also, I think in general our campus is a very friendly atmosphere, so at least I have the confidence to walk up to somebody and say, where is this room, you know? And I have people walk up to me all the time and say, where is this room? And sometimes I say, I have no idea, but let's find it together. So I also wouldn't be afraid to do that, especially syllabus week. Like, that happens all the time. You get freshmen coming up to you, and I'm happy to help. And I think so are most of our students and faculty.
I will say in the past, at least for the last couple of years, there are going to be people like in blue shirts. I'm not sure what the program is that they run. Is it the orientation leaders? Probably, but they're usually like got tables, and they're pretty noticeable to see because they got a booth and stuff. But if you just go up to them and ask them like where is like Cook Hall, for example, they'll point you to the direction and they'll help you get there. So don't be too scared of that first week because there will be people around to help you out.
Great. So we have time for about one more question. And the question that I want you all to answer is, if you could leave everyone here with just one piece of advice, kind of nugget of information, as they are starting their journey, hopefully here with us at UB, what would you say?
Yeah, I would just say to stay open-minded. You heard a lot of us said we changed majors. I also changed majors, so I'd be interested if all of us actually changed majors at one point. But just stay open-minded, not just to like different academic opportunities, but opportunities in general. The city of Buffalo has a lot to offer. The campus has a lot to offer. So if you stay open-minded, you'll be able to explore a lot of new things.
My biggest piece of advice would be to use your resources. I know that we haven't talked about like what a lot of us up here are doing next year, but we're all going off to like amazing things. And that's because of the massive amount of resources that UB has. Like, we have the Office of Scholarships and Fellowships, and they will help you craft incredible applications to like nationally competitive fellowships. We have like just so many resources in terms of research, but also in terms of like anything you're interested in. And I really recommend that you use those because, at least personally, I think that's one of the reasons I've been successful, is because when there's something I don't know how to do, or there's something I'm concerned about, like, I just use my resources on campus, and that's one of the draws of UB, is that we have so many resources. So that would be my number one piece of advice.
My number one piece of advice would probably be to remember these 4 years at college are supposed to be some of like the best years of your life. So if you get a bad grade, or you just have a bad day, I would just say take a breath and move on from it. Obviously you don't want to get bad grades, but it'll happen. Especially in some classes you might fail a test, and you just got to remember it's a part of life. And I think the most important part about college isn't necessarily learning everything about what you want to do in life, but more so kind of expanding your perspective on life and learning about a lot of other people and learning about different perspectives and just having a really great experience. So I would just focus on that.
There, as we mentioned, a lot of resources, a lot of offices on campus. UB is a big campus, so I think like personal advocacy is a big skill. Don't be afraid to go after the experience that you want to have here. There's going to be somebody that's going to be able to give you specific advice, but yeah, don't be afraid to just like bring that excitement that you had when you applied, when you first walk in. Yeah, there's just so many options, and so it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, but as long as you stay the right path and are ready to hear advice, yeah, I think you guys are all in the right spot.
Yeah, to kind of add on to that, don't be afraid to build those like professional relationships with your professors and advisors, because sometimes it goes understated how valuable office hours can be, because you don't only need to go to office hours if you like have questions about the homework or content. You could simply just be talking to your professor and building that relationship. I know for me, I've gone to several office hours with professors, and some of these professors have like become mentors to me for my research and things I'm doing outside the classroom. So take advantage of it, okay?
Thank you. You all did such a nice job. So here, round of applause real quick for